Welcome to A Therapist, a Buddhist, and You, the podcast that explores a collective approach to health and wellness. We are brought to you by the Recovery Collective here in Annapolis, Maryland. Today we are exploring a concept that can truly transform your life and well-being. If you're seeking practical wisdom and insights for better mental health and spiritual growth, you're in the right place. In this episode, we're shining a spotlight on Sangha, a fundamental term in Buddhism that goes beyond religion and offers a sense of community, support, and mindfulness practices. It's a universal force that has adapted to the digital age and promotes personal growth, regardless of your faith and background. Join us as we uncover the ways in which Sangha can be a valuable addition to your holistic health and wellness journey. Discover how it enhances your mental well-being and allows you to connect with like-minded community. This is your opportunity to explore the power of unity and mindfulness in a modern context. So let's get started on your path to collective well-being. Hey, Zol, good morning to you.
Morning, Luke.
So
it's early here.
It is early. So I guess it's a good time to let people know it's the sun is not up yet and we are drinking coffee. So if you like what you're hearing, we haven't done this in a couple episodes, like, comment, and if you'd like to, you can leave a comment and even donate, and that'll either buy us a coffee for next time that we record before the sun comes up, or helps pay for our platform and things like that. So if you like what you hear and you make it to the end and you feel this information and content's valuable, like, comment, and on Apple Podcasts, the commenting certainly helps get it to more people that are searching for this type of podcast information.
But good to be here. Good to do it again.
It's a good morning for a good talk on connection, community, and Sangha. So what does it mean, Buddhist?
Yeah, where do we begin? Yeah, I guess there are different approaches we can take. But since, you're a therapist, I'm a Buddhist, we can take the liberty of the element of community and connection. But for me, the background really is Sangha, literally in our culture in Buddhism, meant or means Buddhist community or Buddhist monks. But after I have joined some American Buddhist group here, that concept is used a lot of Sangha, just a spiritual community.
Yeah, it's evolved over its purest of forms and meanings.
Yeah. But I guess in the grand scheme of thing, it's just the element that has been very essential for my recovery and for my well-being. So I thought this would be a good topic for just well-being in general. So Sangha, the word, it's just a bridge for us to talk about it. But for me, reflecting on my own experience and what I think would be useful for listeners is that connection being the source of wellness for people, because our identity is relational. Like, we're social animals. Mm-hmm. So alone by myself and an island of my own, it's not very great, especially for people like myself with addiction and things like that. Alone and unaided is the term that we use in 12-step of alone and unaided, powerless. But when I'm aided and not alone, that's when we're plugged into the power, that kind of concept. So that's where I want to go with this.
So a lot of support and guidance that Sangha brings through community and connection. The therapist in me, it's like a group therapy session for the soul. It in Buddhist perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a potential religious connection to this word, but it can have a spiritual perspective as well.
Yeah. I think the meaning of the word, that word has been around since the earlier time before Buddhism came about. But I think the original meaning in Sanskrit or in Hinduism, it's some kind of a gathering when things connect together. It's a Sangha. But in Buddha's time, it literally meant a community of monks, which also there is that element of, because there are like rules and regulations that monks have to follow, which to me means that there has to be a harmony, And when there is like a 12-step meeting or therapy group, there is that unseen, unspoken force, that is in charge. Yeah. And I feel like that's the guiding force for people. Yeah, when people get together, I feel like that's where that connection comes from.
I feel like I don't know if it's the original intent, but It's a word that has captured a place where you can heal and grow and find understanding and a connection in a community, in a group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah. Something greater,
Well, why do you think this is so crucial in today's world?
Yeah, I think that's how the internet, social media, everything works, right? We're always craving for the connection. Like even the internet, it's a community looking for connection, So I think has always been crucial for us, but it's very important for it to be a positive and harmonious group though, because it can get into the other direction where the dark force can be the influencing factor for a community. So maybe we can touch on that a little bit, that positive community.
So through Theravada Buddhism, it's Buddha, right? That was the connecting force. That was the piece that led to that growth and that healing and that spirituality. Well, how's it evolved where you're at today? I know you have this Buddhist perspective, but fostering community for spiritual growth can come in a whole lot of different forms, can it?
Yeah. One of the key suggestions, there's this sutta called Mingala Sutta, where there are some elements that bring auspiciousness to the world. And one of the suggestions is surrounding yourself with wise people, or surrounding yourself with good people is something that makes life auspicious and meaningful. And I guess, we attract who we are, or we attract how we're vibrating at a vibrational level. So, if that's how I think about my life today. And if you are, because in Buddhism, the likeness is that people who are on the path of awakening, then there's a community. But also here now, recovery communities are like that too, that there is that similarity, or the fact that we're in this together. So there's that sense of connection, that you're not alone. Everybody's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, that is certainly one way that we have found that healing and growth, through the collectiveness of a recovery community and recovery meetings, with the sole intent of not dying from drugs and alcohol, but something more than that. It's to live on hopefully a spiritual plane with spiritual principles, and have, as a result, healing and recovery, but we get this other aspect, higher sense of self and growth in a community type setting. So 12-step meetings has certainly been something for us where we've a form of Sangha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also undeniably their principle, right? Like when we're born into this world, we have no choice but to be in a community, right? Mm-hmm. And then the first community ever is the nuclear family, right? You're born into a family. So there already is that sense. But I think what is crucial and what can be useful is it's also one of those paradoxical things. The more you go within, the more you go outside. And I was talking to my mother at some point in my recovery. I was telling her about the recovery community that I got involved in. And like, she has no concept of like 12 steps or anything like that. But when I explained it to her, it just all made sense to her. She was like, yeah, this is all the principles that we've been teaching you. But before you were ready, it wasn't like that. But I was telling her about the friends that I do have. And then she was just saying that when you're working on yourself, going within, you end up attracting the like-minded people, So I think that's good news for everybody too. That's also what I have heard too, that how do I find the best teacher? You want to look for the best, but just work on yourself, work on your meditation, and then teacher will find you.
And I think one of my favorite things I do professionally, therapeutically, is my relapse prevention group that I run. And I have people in that group with years of sobriety. So it's not a mandatory group. It's just something that I offer to people, and it provides a place in a group dynamic where it can alleviate feeling of isolation, reduce stress, promote emotional well-being. It's with like-minded people that this group, they identify what are their spiritual principles, what's helping them, and this group dynamic really helps them. So it's one of my favorite groups, because in some ways, Yeah, I feel like I'm the conductor, but like it's a new song every time that the group gets to identify with where they're at individually and as a unit. And it's a beautiful example of community, helping each other. And I love it.
Yeah. And interestingly, there's also an aspect of meditation too, is that especially if there is like a meeting as a group run for an hour. I mean, that's why I love going to meetings, although, I mean, but like it really helps an individual to sit and listen, right? So when you're in a meeting, when somebody's talking, there's that unspoken rule, or people already know that everybody else is quiet. You don't like crosstalk, things like that. So there's that. And I feel like that's also how recovery works for people when people suggest that do 90 meetings in 90 days, things like that, that you end up sitting for that whole hour, right? Which is almost like a meditation that you don't say anything. When it's your turn, you say it, but then you say it with like carefully thought out words because you're talking to the group. But then when somebody's talking to, even if you're zoning out, you're kind of like sitting and then listening. So there's that idea of like meditation, like stillness too. And that's something that when I was like running some groups too, a meditation group, we all sit in silence, but then there's that.
You're with them.
Yeah, with them. And it's almost like a shortcut that it's easier to get to that level of calmness when you're with the group because you sink into that energy, you know?
Yeah, talk more on that. The mindfulness and meditation that fosters the community and the connection. Because in some ways, people can feel it so isolative. I'm with myself, I'm with my mind, I'm with the sensations, whatever I'm thinking about, I'm with my racing thoughts. So some people might see it in a silo or isolative, but meditation can provide, mindfulness can provide, like you're saying, this connectedness with community and this greater part of self.
Yeah, especially if there is already some elements in that community. Not to like validate and qualify, but just that if there is, that's also what I like about 12-step groups. Like when you go to a group, it's not like chaos. There already are principles that people abide by or strive for. And in Buddhism too, the same thing, especially with the Buddhist monk community. That's how I felt when I was a monk, that there are certain things that I had to do which I don't question about following the 5 precepts. Actually, it was more than 5 precepts that I had to follow, and then shaving the head, wearing the robe. These are all a sign of surrender that, okay, I'm part of the group now. What do I do? That kind of get rid of the selfishness or self-centeredness in a way, and then you kind of connect with something greater. Yeah, so the mindfulness part is interesting too when you're sitting in a meeting or even like the conversation that we're having right now. You know, there is an aspect of relational element where there is Luke, there is Zol, but there is also the connection between Luke and Zol, which is greater, you know. So I feel like that's the concept that can be healing and the concept that can be guiding and protective.
We've talked a little bit about how we're in this digital age. Well, Sangha has had to adapt to that as well. How does this concept of Sangha extend to online communities and virtual meetings, and what can individuals gain from this?
Yeah, that's interesting with the Zoom world, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some people who got sober through COVID, through the virtual community. So it is...
Still blows me away.
Yeah, it is possible. So yeah, I don't know. Internet is quite a topic.
To me, it says there's still this ability to connect with another human being, even with distance and space. That if the intention is there, if the ability is, if the desire is to learn from, be with, emphasize, grow, emotionally, spiritually, if you will, that can happen with distance. I think the conditions can certainly be easier when everyone's together in the same room, obviously, but that doesn't stop the connectedness.
Yeah. I think it's more challenging from the point of view of meditation, especially from the point of view of concentration meditation, that I think for a virtual community, unless you're in a very quiet and like a studio, it's easier to concentrate. But virtual community can be hit or miss. That if you're in a Zoom meeting, driving somewhere, doing grocery shopping while you're in a meeting, it's more challenging to concentrate. It just makes me think of that when you talk about like intention,
Yeah.
When I set the intention very single pointed, it's easier to connect because there's more distraction when you're trying to tune in on the phone or on the computer. But when we sit together physically in a group, it's easier to concentrate.
And sometimes with where we're at in life, that we may have physical limitations and busy schedules. So even with that said, virtual support groups and virtual online mindfulness and meditation meetings and communities are out there online, that it's still possible. We can still participate in group meditation sessions and receive spiritual guidance from practitioners from other countries. 12-step meetings from all around the world, that we can still connect.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but it's true for recovery communities. They say addiction is like a forgetting disease, right? So that's also where the group becomes so crucial. That when there is like an unquestionably there habitual, because we're also creatures of habit. So like when there is that ritual, you show up anyway, and then you bring yourself out of your forgetfulness, right? And that's also another powerful thing about Sangha and groups, that when you forget, the group reminds you.
And I often say the smartest body part I have is my feet, because they know where they're at, and my mind confuses me. One of the things that they say, 12-step meetings are for the sick and suffering. And I often tell myself and other people that I may not suffer like I used to, but sometimes I'm pretty sick. So other people's minds and hearts can help me get to that better part of self, and less sick, less suffering, higher serenity and peace and spirituality. So when I'm siloed by myself, I'm just with my sick. Or selfishness or irritation, and I can get out of that quicker when I'm in a community of understanding people with the same goals.
Yeah.
We're wanting to do that look at themselves individually, and by helping others, that's one way to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot harder to be selfish when you're with a group,
Yeah. Hey listeners, we've got something extraordinary to share, a chance to reshape your journey no matter where you are. You're familiar with Zalmal's insights on our podcast, but there's more. Through the Recovery Collective, he offers life, mindfulness, recovery coaching, and meditation groups guiding you toward a fulfilled and mindful existence, no matter your location. Zal's journey from a Burmese Buddhist novice to a skilled practitioner equips him with timeless wisdom and contemporary strategies. Whether you're navigating life's shifts, seeking clarity, or pursuing self-awareness, Zal's coaching serves as a compass guiding you toward success. The best part? Zal's approach centers on your growth and empowerment. He equips you with tools to tap into your inner strengths for continuous evolution no matter where you are. Ready to take that next step in your personal growth journey? Connect with Zalmal and the Recovery Collective at 240-813-8135 from anywhere in the world. Investigating in your journey reaps immeasurable rewards. Let Zalmal guide you toward resilience, clarity, and empowerment no matter where life finds you. Now, let's transition back into our conversation. Stay tuned, stay curious, and keep your journey growing. I think Sangha's unique environment allows members to learn from one another, contributing to personal development. As a therapist, I believe that collective wisdom and shared experience can empower individuals to grow and heal and for holistic health. But yeah, that's what we're saying. There's this guy named Irvin Yalom, and he's kind of a godfather of group work. And he's got all these concepts, and one of them is universality in group therapy, which emphasizes that common human experiences can transcend individual differences align. And I think that aligns with Sangha's universality. That here's how I can relate with other people's parts of self. Don't you think?
Definitely. Yeah. Ability to listen, ability to help others, and then connecting with that humanness, like human connection.
Yeah, we share common emotional struggles. We all have some form of universal concerns that we can help each other with. This recognition. But if I'm not in that group, I never know. I can't tell you how many times I hear people think they have a problem and they're in their own island. They couldn't fathom that other people are struggling or thinking or have a life complex or condition that they can't fathom that other people are going through it. So this recognition fosters a sense of unity and understanding, and doing that in a group or a therapy group is powerful. So whether it's with a therapist, with a grief group, whether it's a recovery group, or some, family member with special needs, whatever it might be, or illnesses, that we're not alone. And that group environment kind of, in a good way, normalizes our individual struggles because it's not so individual.
Yeah. Yeah, that is correct. I also wanted to emphasize about the element of like a true sense of spiritual community, or just like a true sense of good community, is that it doesn't make you to be dependent on the group, So like, it's also one of those paradoxical things that the more you stay true to the group, the more you find yourself in you, because that humanness thing is that you start tuning into like how you're feeling based on how people are saying, you relate, and then you start learning some vocabularies that, oh yeah, that's how you describe how you feel, but then it eventually takes you to that quiet place within, which also makes you to be a good member in the group too, because it becomes more about that flow of energy. So it's because, it's not about like, oh, I have to be with people all the time, but the more you stay true to the group, the more you also find solitude, that when you're sitting by yourself, you feel at peace because you're not alone, So like, it's kind of interesting to maintain that balance, that I'm not alone by myself all the time. I'm not with the group all the time, but there's that unity and the balance between solitude and community.
You explained what I often, wonderfully, you explained when I say the more dependent I become, the more on a group, on spirituality, on 12 steps, the more independent I become. So when I first depend on this Sangha, this group, this program of connection and like-minded people, as a result, I become more independent. So some people feel that way about their spirituality. The more I depend on my spirituality and spiritual principles in this relationship with this higher power, as a result, we can become more independent. And I think you explained what I mean by that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. I just wanted to emphasize that because that is like a barrier for some people, or myself included, when I'm in a place of isolation. Oh yeah, I don't want to conform to the group. Like I want to hold on to my identity. But then that was like the hindering force. But eventually it actually kind of sharpen who you are. It makes you to be actually who you are more than like confirmation that, oh yeah, I'm going to lose my identity. It's nothing like that. It's the other way around.
What is the balance with Buddhism?
So,
do you know what I'm asking?
Okay, yeah, can you spell it out just to be sure?
So you have these Buddhist principles and the enlightened Buddha. So you don't want to become dependent on, I don't know what I'm asking, but you see where I'm going?
Yeah, the way I'm understanding, or I don't know if this is where you're pointing at, but like when you find a place of awakening or the wisdom, it comes with that aspect of compassion that you just want to outflow. So like the more you go within deep, the more you want to connect with other people too. But I think what you're also asking is also not to be dependent on the Buddha, or not to be dependent on the
or any
Sangha.
Religion, right? The extremists, or when does it become toxic, or you know, when it becomes, like we were just talking about, it becomes too dependent as opposed to the independence.
Yeah. Yeah, there are just so many factors to that. The more we put like integrity, or the more we put the ultimate freedom, the more we're guided, right? The analogy that I've heard in Buddhist tradition is the raft. I think I've mentioned this multiple times, that when you're crossing the river, you build a raft, or you find a raft and you cross the river. But when you get to the other side, you keep on with your journey. You don't carry the raft with you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also the purpose of a teacher or a community. You go there with an intention, with a purpose of getting somewhere, but then you're not dependent, you know? And the group will be there, the raft will be there when you need it, but it might be the most important thing in the beginning, but after you reach to a certain level, you become independent, you know?
Yeah, there's a saying, faith without works is dead. And I always used to say, I'd stay sober, God willing. Well, my God was always willing. I had to do my part. There's the end short story of, there's a flood and this guy's on the roof of his house, and the guy with the rowboat comes and he says, hey, hop on in. And the guy says, no, I'm good. God's got me. And the water's going up a little bit higher. And then someone on a powerboat comes by and says, nope, I'm good. God's got me. And it's coming up higher. And now the helicopter comes, drops down the rope, the ladder. I'm good. God's got me. And then he drowns and he's at the pearly gates and he says, what happened? I thought you had me. And he says, yes, I had you with the rowboat. I had you with the powerboat. And so I think these are great examples of us trying to get the message across of the balance between dependence and independence, and how this can be a guiding force and a connection, and not turns into something unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on too, about the way I've heard it in a book. It's about to find divine in people you meet, you know, throughout the day. I think that promotes a sense of community, that whoever I'm interacting with, not just people, just life in general, you know, there's something being communicated. Like you're saying, that the guy with the helicopter, like rope, these were the manifestation of this loving force that expressed itself. But then the guy had a fixed idea of how he should be helped, you know, that there will be an angel or godly figure shows up. But sometimes we get help through kind of very basic level means. And that's something greater reaching out to us.
Yeah, to connect with Sangha, I think one can begin by researching local communities or attending online meetings or seeking guidance from experienced practitioners. From a therapist standpoint, I think it's essential to emphasize the starting small and being consistent, a key to making it an integral part of one's kind of well-being and journey. It's start small, put yourself out there. There's this vulnerability piece that we've talked with in other episodes for growth.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Well, the sun's up.
Yeah. Good timing.
The sun just came up. So, well, thanks everyone for listening. And in closing, I think we explored the profound, potentially significance of Sangha and our collective well-being. We've journeyed through its role in fostering community and support for spiritual growth, delved into the therapeutic benefits it offers for mental health, and touched upon how mindfulness practice with Sangha promote emotional well-being. We've witnessed how Sangha have adapted to the digital age, providing accessible well-being support for individuals in need. We've discussed personal growth, inclusivity, and the universality of Sangha, drawing parallels with holistic therapy concepts like Irvin Yalom's universality as well. Embracing this, we open doors to a broader sense of spiritual community that transcends religious boundaries, fostering open-mindedness, acceptance, and collective growth. As we reflect on this journey, let's remember that Sangha offers us a timeless path to unity, support, and spiritual well-being. It teaches us that human experience is universal, transcending individual differences and faith backgrounds. Whether online or in person, it provides a space where we can connect, share, and collectively thrive on our path to well-being. So we invite you to explore the concept of Sangha in your own life and discover the transformative power it holds. By doing so, you're not only contributing to your growth, but also to the collective well-being of our global community. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Sangha, a valuable collective solution to health and wellness. So, if you made it through this whole episode, please like, share, and comment on Apple. That really help us out, get the message to our community. So thanks so much. My name is Luke.
This is all.
See you next time.